Shalom. First and foremost, we want to give all praises, honors, and glories to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah Ba'ashem Kakwadash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And salutations to the hopeful elect. This is your brother Aimna Wa'ala
and Mala'aki.
And we're coming back with you with another lesson, basically going into the basics. And this lesson is going to be about who is Esau, Edom, spoken about in the scriptures, alright? And first, we're going to start with Genesis 25 and 19. And it says, "And these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begat Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Pandan Aram, the sister to Laban, the Syrian. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife because she was barren, and the Lord was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her, and she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separate from thy bowels. And one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger." And that's right, here in today's society, alright, the stronger nation, alright, that you could think of, is the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. That would be the 12 tribes of Israel that the Bible speaks of. Alright, we are a strong people. We're strong. Alright, and but here it says, "And one people shall be stronger than the other, and then the other people, and the other shall serve the younger." And that's a future prophecy that will basically come to pass as well, that the older son will serve the younger son. Alright, and it says, verse 24, "And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb, and the first came out red all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau." And as you can see right here, alright, it says the first came out red. Alright, and what comes to your mind when you think of red, right? You see the color red, right? And today's that type of person that will look red, alright, will be Esau, Edom. Alright, good example is right here, this ginger right here, man, or these other examples. Alright, you can see that they got red skin because of the sunburn. Alright, and this basically well defines who Esau, Edom is. Alright, they got red skin. They got to question themselves, why am I red? Well, I mean, you are Esau, Edom. Alright, it says all over like an hairy garment, they call his name Esau. Alright, and this is the people that are ruling your world basically right now. They're basically destroying the world and basically decreeing unrighteous decrees. Alright, and it says, "And after that came out his brother, and his hand took on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob, and Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them." Alright, it says, "And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter man, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents, and Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob. And Jacob sawed pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, Feed me, I pray thee, with the same red pottage, for I am faint. Wherefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said, Sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, Behold, I am at the points to die, and what profit shall this do? What profit shall this birthright do to me? So yeah, Esau, all right, he despised his own birthright, all right. It says, and Jacob said, Swear to me this day, and he swore unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread, pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way, and thus Esau despised his birthright. And hey, that basically look at Esau Edom today, all right, he's a degenerate. All right, the Lord has made this man as as the basis of all men that is ruling the world today. All right, and currently right now, all right, of course, he is the wicked, and he basically, is fucking up the entire planet. All right.
No. So I go ahead. You know what I got?
Yeah.
All right. This is Micah 2:2. Going on how they're like fucking up the lands and
taking over lands
and destroying.
Read it. Read full chapter. Tap that right there.
This is Micah 2:2.
Actually, no, start at verse 1.
Woe to them, Micah 2:1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. And when the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away, so they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. Therefore, this saith the Lord Yahweh.
Oh, that was it to that point. But basically, it says, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds." And the earth is given unto the hand of the wicked. All right, and then that's basically who you see that is in rulership today. All right, they covet fields and take them by violence, just like what the brother was reading right here on verse 2. But you can go ahead and break down the second verse right there.
Yeah, Micah 2:2. When they covet fields and take them by violence, they go to other lands and they set their little military bases in
their territory. They take people out of that land, just like a good example.
Like right now in Iran, they go ahead and destroy certain areas, kill people, innocent people, and especially, other regions as well.
Or that situation that you got over there in Albania, all right? You got Ivanka Trump, all right? Basically, she's moving up over there in Albania, all right? And you got their security guards basically, removing those people out of that region. All right, they're taking people out of their land. All right, but of course, Esau Edom, he has, all right, taken over our land. All right, look what he did to the Native Americans that were once dwelling here in America, all happy. All right, but when Esau came into the Americas, all right, they invaded. All right, they took the Native Americans into slavery.
Yeah, and it goes into even a man and his heritage. That's what they did to Native Americans.
Yeah, they steal your heritage, all right? They take your culture, all right? They make you, basically they put you under captivity, all right? You're under servitude under Esau's rulership, all right? And this is the wicked that is ruling the earth today. It says Job 9:24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? All right, and this is what Esau Edom does to this very day. All right, look at what he's doing right now. All right, he's making himself as if he's a god. All right, he puts up a image of Cesare Borgia and he teaches that. All right, showing you that he's trying to. Well, he already has done this for many years. Right, you got our people, all right, worshiping a so-called white man, all right, Cesare Borgia, which this world will call Jesus Christ, all right, a so-called white man, all right. That's a good example of him, covering the faces of the judges thereof. All right, he basically whitewashes history. You look at the history of the Vikings. All right, he displays himself as if he is the Vikings, but really, overall, those Vikings. All right, those dark ages, those medieval ages. All right, basically Jake was ruling at that time. All right, that is our history right there, man. All right, but here, you got Esau, Edom. All right, whitewashing everything. All right, to this very day. All right, he still displays himself as if he is God. All right, simply by using the image of Cesare Borgia.
And this is Obadiah 1 and 4. Speaking on how prideful Esau is. And, he covered the faces of the judges thereof. Obadiah 1 and 4. Thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and thou set thy nest among the stars. Thence I will bring thee down, saith the Lord. How?
Speak up. Read that over again.
Obadiah 1 and 4. Thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and thou set thy nest among the stars. Thence I will bring thee down, saith the Lord Yahweh.
And that's right. You look in today. All right, what is America's primary animal? All right, the eagle. All right, and this is what this scripture is basically explaining. All right, Esau, Edom does exalt himself as the eagle. All right, America here specifically. All right, these Edomites. All right, they are proud. All right, Esau, Edom in general is proud. All right, and they exalt themselves as if they own everything, and which they currently do. All right, but that's because the Lord set Esau, Edom in power in the first place. All right. And bring out the one that explains about he decrees and righteous decrees. And yeah, to this very day, all right, the scripture also proves that Esau, Edom is in rulership today. All right, because all right, who basically are the main judges? Who is basically all right running the laws all over around the world? Who's basically setting up these rules, laws, and regulations, all right, that are basically oppressing Jake to this very day? That would be the so-called white man.
And this is Isaiah 10 and 10. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that right.
You mean Isaiah 10 and 1?
Wait,
what? Isaiah 10 and 1.
Isaiah 10 and 1. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees and right grievousness, which they have prescribed, and turn aside the needy from judgment, and take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless.
And yeah, all right. It says, woe to them that decree unrighteous decrees. Look what Esau is doing today. All right. He's decreeing unrighteous decrees, and very good examples is Title 4D. All right. A lot of Jake have that. All right. They have to deal with child support. All right. Our people are in a fucked up condition because of this man, and look at what Esau does. All right, look what kind of crimes he commits. All right, basically he's taking peace from the earth, but through his laws and regulations. All right, he's oppressing Jake. All right, by his decrees that he twists and turns.
Yeah, like right? he turned aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, like homeless Jake having to sleep on a
Under
public
a
public bench, but then now they're trying to make a law to where they can't sleep on those benches no more, and to take them in jail.
I got another one. Alright, fuck. Slovakia. There's another one. They think they changed times and laws. Alright, Daniel 7 and 25. I'm gonna start with 25. It says, "And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, to think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and dividing of time." Alright, and that's what Esau Edom is doing to this very day. Alright, he thinks to change times and laws, which he's doing currently right now. Right, because not too long ago, right, they got a case where you got a man named William Jacobs, and basically they just let that man free, and that's the Edomite right there. But you know what kind of crime he committed? All right, he basically murdered a 10-month-old baby, right? And they still let this man out. All right, they basically brushed this case under the rug like nothing happened. But if a Jake were to murder an individual that is of older age, all right, they will sentence that man for 50 years in prison or a lifetime. All right, and they'll set their bond to more than what they could afford. All right, but in this case, all right, what Esau Edom does is that he changes the laws. All right, or even changes the calendar. And you look in the NLT, it says, I'm reading this part specifically, but it says, "And they will be placed under his control for a times and a times and a half a time." Right? And here in verse 26 it says, "But judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume it, and to destroy it unto the end." And real soon, all right, the Lord is about to take this man out of power. All right. Right, and basically, Esau Edom only has a short period of time to rule, right? But right now, all right, he's gonna do everything that he can to basically go all out, all right, into establishing his MOTB, all right. It's like his New World Order, by the way, of the MOTB, the implantable microchip, that will soon be made globally and mandatory real soon, all right. You got any others?
Well, yeah, and this Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 6. "Shall not all these take up a parable against him, a taunting proverb against him, and say, Woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that layeth himself with thick clay." He he takes up, he increases things and take things that are not his, like
he
going
goes into other people's lands. Like a good example, right? You look at Venezuela, right? He basically went in there, took out Maduro, or brought him into America. But look what Esau Edom is doing today. All right, he's basically controlling their oil reserves. All right, he's basically taking their oil. All right, or like what that scripture was saying, he covet fields and take them by violence, all right, by the way of the sword, all right. And let's go to Revelation 6, and I'm gonna start at verse. I'm gonna start at verse 3. It says, And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, "Come and see." And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. And yeah, we all know that Esau, Edom, is blessed with the sword, right? Esau, Edom is blessed with the sword. Can you bring that scripture that goes, his blessing shall be the fatness of the earth, right? Alright, it says, and there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. And look what Esau Edom is doing today. Alright, he's starting up these wars. Alright, he's causing havoc. You look at ICE. Alright, they're basically separating the parents from the children. Alright, they're wielding guns, or they're bearing arms. Alright, you all know how Esau Edom loves his guns. Alright, he's flexing with them. Alright, he basically sends his American troops off to other countries and invades them and attacks them. Alright, this is what Esau Edom is doing today. But I'm gonna check something real quick.
Oh yeah.
You found it?
Wait. Just
I'm gonna start with
oh yeah. Just Genesis. Oh, it's 29.
I'm gonna start at verse 30. I got it. You want to start at verse 30?
Wait, Genesis 27.
I got it. Alright, here is Genesis 27 and 30. And it came to pass, as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was scarce gone up from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting, and he also had made savory meat, and brought it unto his father, and said unto his father, let my father arise and eat of his son's venison, that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac his father said unto him, Who art thou? And he said, I am thy son, thy firstborn Esau. And Isaac trembled. Salaka. It says, and Isaac his father said unto him, Who art thou? And he said, I am thy son, thy firstborn Esau. And Isaac trembled very exceedingly, and said, Who? Where is he that had taken venison and brought it to me, and have eaten of all before thou camest, and have blessed him? Yea, he shall be blessed. And when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceeding bitter cry, and said unto his father, Bless me also, O my father. And he said, Thy brother came with subtlety, and had taken away thy blessing. And that's right. Esau sold his birthright to Jacob, and Jacob basically took Esau's blessing, all right? Because Jacob is a syrup planter, all right? And then, if you read up above, all right, basically Jacob, it goes to explain that Jacob took Esau's blessing, all right? Which is a funny story, which I find funny. But it says, and said unto his father, Salakia. It says, verse 34, and when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with it a great and exceeding bitter cry, and said unto his father, Bless me, even me also, my father. And he said, Thy brother came with subtlety, and had taken away thy blessing. And he said, Is not he rightly named Jacob? For he had supplanted me these 2 times, and he took away my birthright. And behold, Esau, he sold his birthright to Jacob, right? And behold, now he had taken away my blessing. And he said, Hast thou not reserved a blessing for me? And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, Behold, I have made him thy Lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son? It says, and Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing? My father blessed me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth. And look what Esau Edom blessing is today, all right? He's basically not troubled as other men, all right? His blessing is the fatness of the earth. He is wealthy, all right? You don't see Esau Edom struggling like Jake is dealing with right now, all right? Jake, all right, we're basically struggling, all right? You look at the neighborhoods where Jake be dwelling in, all right? They barely have any space. They live in cramped up areas, all right? Barely any parking, barely any space, all right? Barely any privacy, all right? All right, it says, And behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven from above. So Esau is living lavishly, all right? He has nothing to worry about, all right? Because Esau, all right, look at the so-called white man, all right? He's living lavishly. He's not worrying about shit, all right? Other than destroying, he's destroying the earth, all right, by the way of his sword. Okay, it says verse 40, And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. All right, and it says, And by the sword shalt thou live. All right, Esau Edom is blessed with the sword. All right, and look what you see on the news. All right, Esau Edom commits the most heinous crimes. Alright? It says, And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. And basically, this right here is basically speaking about, I believe, after the reign of King David. Alright, because during the reign of King David, we had Esau, Edom as slaves at that time, right? But it says, And Jacob hated Slakia, and Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, The days of mourning for my father are at hand, then will I slay my brother Jacob. And to this very day, all right, Esau Edom is still mad about that, the fact that he sold his own birthright to Jacob, all right, and that Jacob took Esau's blessing, all right, and this is why these elites, all right, to this very day they're mad, all right, they're trying to take their blessing back, all right, and that's why they want to accomplish a New World Order to ultimately keep us here in slavery forever. But according to the scriptures, all right, that's not the case, all right, because at the end of the day, the elect are going to be saved, and they're not going to take the MOTB, all right. But nonetheless, if you got any other scriptures,
no, that's it.
And with that, all right, I hope this lesson was edifying. We want to give all praises, honors, and glories to Yahweh, Bashem, and Shalom.